Okay, so when it's lab day, you need to do something to prepare for lab. So, what was the last science class you took? Did you take biology?
Yeah.
For you sophomores, did Mr. Dermis have you write up the lab procedures before class? He did not. Okay, that's what I thought. That's all right. So for everybody else, this should just be review. For you guys, it'll be a little bit of a confusing thing at first, but I'm going to try to make sure that you know what you're doing. All right, so this is how you use a lab notebook like this. There is a lovely periodical table here. And then this is the table of contents. You can use this if you want, but I will never see it, so I won't know if you do it or not. And then you're just going to turn a couple of these, the safety rules, general info, and then here's your first page of where you're going to write on. Okay, so now watch very carefully because this is important. Every page is 2 pages, like a white and blue page and like a yellow page that says copy on it. When you write on the white and blue page, it'll carbon copy onto the next page. That copy page is what you'll tear out and hand in. You will never hand your notebook in. You will always keep your notebook. When you write on a page though, you have to use this flap to write on to like separate the pages. Like you want to have both sides of page 1 together because otherwise you won't be making that copy. But if you don't put this like insert page here, what you're writing here is going to copy down to like the next several pages depending on how hard you press. So make sure that you put your copy on one side of the flap, I guess, and always be writing on the flap. You need to move that every time you start a new page. All right, so in chemistry, it's really important that you come to class knowing what you're doing. Not so much for this lab because we're not actually working with chemicals, but for all of the rest of the labs, if I put chemicals out here for you to use, I expect you that you're knowing what to do before you come to class. So if you want to, I'm going to show that on here for right now, and then you can find this on your Chromebooks and stuff later. So how do you prepare your lab notebook? To make this as easy as possible for you, I've provided you an example. So if you go to, let me do this again so that you can see. I scrolled all the way down to the bottom of my website and I clicked on laboratory experiments. If you go to the very bottom where it says lab number 1 example procedure and click on page 1, this is what will come up. My actual work, and this would be page 2.
Okay.
So hopefully page 2 is page 1, otherwise I put 2. Okay, perfect. All right, so a couple of things. You need to include your experiment number and the title. I give you that. If you don't have that, I will take points off. And then you're just going to fill in the rest of the blanks that are on the top of this notebook paper. So then it says the date. This would be the date when we're actually doing the experiment. So Friday will be the 6th. So 9/6/24. My name, my lab partner, what locker desk you're at, and what section you are. So you're 2A. You want to copy the purpose into your lab notebook. You want to copy the apparatus required into your lab notebook. If there's any safety info, you want to also include that. And then the procedure is the main part. You need to turn my paragraphs into like stepwise bullets. So kind of like when you're making a recipe and it says preheat the oven to 350 degrees. That would be your first step. So you want to kind of like write in here a recipe for yourself. And so notice how I didn't use nearly as many words when I was writing as when I was typing. I'm a lazy person, so I want this to be as short as possible. Also, when I'm in the lab, I want to have enough time to actually do my experiment. I don't want to have to be like reading through this nonsense all the time. So as brief as I can be is what I try to do. So because this is here for you, the pages were accidentally I mistake them. So this is what is called page 2 on the website. So just use your noodle. You can copy down verbatim what I did here to prepare yourself for Friday. But it has to be done and in the notebook that I just gave you or your notebook that you're using. So this is page 1 of my lab. And here's page 2. And here I even did draw for you like what my data table should look like. Now, if I were doing this again, I'm spatially dumb. So I think that if I were to do this again, I would move my lab notebook to be in the landscape position so that I had more room to do all this. But you can do what you want. I just know that I am bad at spaces, so it's okay. And then I even did the first one for you. You can just copy my work. We will talk about the electronegativity difference in class on Friday. So don't worry about knowing, like if you think to yourself, I don't know what that means. I know you don't know what it means, and that's okay. We will talk about it on Friday. So copy, really all you have to do is write what I wrote here in your lab notebook here. Does that make sense? Elliot? It has to be in pen. Thank you so much for asking. You don't want, and we never, because we don't erase in the lab. If you make a mistake on your work, you should always, like if I measured 64 meters and then I decide that, oh, that was the wrong answer, you should never erase it or scratch it out. You should just draw a line through it. This is being a lot fussier than it normally is. And then just write a different answer. Because a lot of times it happens that this actually was accurate. And so if you know that you can just go back and look at it and then correct yourself, it saves you quite a lot of time. So yes, please only use pen. If you need a pen, I've got some you can borrow. And then if you ever have to erase anything, don't scribble it out or use whiteout, just put a line through it. There's no shame in making errors. That's what we do as scientists. And those can be more beneficial to us than getting it right. All right, that was a lot of information. Why don't you put your stuff away and we will take the element quiz now.